Be the Talk, episode 253, featuring Rob Mitchell-James. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself, I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Rob Mitchell-James. Rob, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the chance.
Rob Mitchell-James is a professional actor, public speaker, personal coach, and founder of Life Cycle Coaching. Rob is also a qualified mental health first aider and the person behind the hashtag Man Rebranded, a support network focused on men's mental health. Rob is also a two-time Ironman triathlete. He's completed Ironman UK in 2014 and 2015. Rob Mitchell-James, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the thank you for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity. It's a great thing that you're doing, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Well, thanks, Rob. Your talk is called Man Rebranded: Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And if I had the opportunity just to summarize your whole talk in just a few words, I would say that the crux of your talk is that man's operating system for modern men in the 21st century needs to be upgraded from where we're pretty much stuck in the 19th century. It's not working out very well for us. And certainly your story is very tragically very typical, but you found a way out. So take us behind the talk, Rob.
Yeah, I think you've summarised it in a better way than I possibly could have then. So clearly you've seen it, and I appreciate your feedback. So behind the talk, I mean, I'm 47. That means I've got 47 years experience of being a man. And like you say, that's 47 years experience of being shaped by all these different influences that create our lens on life. You know, our parental influences, our societal influences, relationships, our workplaces, and things like that. And all this creates an image of masculinity that we've become so familiar with. It gives us a lens through which we see things. But it's an image that I think has become increasingly outdated over time. And it's very out of touch with the demands of modern society. And, you know, we've been brought up for years, for decades, with this perspective that men don't talk, that we're stoic, that we man up, put up and shut up and get on with it. But it starts really early on as well. But the reality is we're all human. And if we don't deal with our insecurities and our pressures, then like water, it will find a way out. And we're now starting to see the impact of that in some of the statistics that are very, very prevalent, very often spoken about around men's mental health, around suicide. These things are becoming less stigmatized. So my talk was really to shine a light on that, to use my own personal experiences to encourage men to open up and realize that it's actually beneficial and it's stronger to do that.
Rob, why is it so hard for us as men to change? It's so hard. Every day we wake up, we have these old patterns, what it means to be a man, what it means to be responsible, what it means to provide. And it's so hard to change this particular operating system. I know for you as a television producer, you talk about being silent, holding it all in, being disengaged, even though you're totally at work, doing your job, being productive, doing what you need to do on the job, but you were completely disconnected. My question is, why is it so hard for us to change?
There's a number of things in there. It's years of conditioned behaviour and image and perspectives that we have to live up to. You know, we're brought up through decades of that belief system that we don't deal with our emotions. So we have all of that decade of history that's created men as they are now. But so that's one element of it. But the second part is any form of change is difficult. Any form of new behavior, any form of acceptance of a new thought process is notoriously difficult because we get so conditioned in our ways of behavior. We sometimes aren't aware of the impact that behavior has on us. So we find it very easy to fall back into repeating patterns of behavior. And so we almost live to those expectations. We conform to what we think is expected of us. I did that for years. No one ever told me to stop doing what I was doing. It was only my own levels of awareness. And it happened in 2016 when, I hit a huge period of depression. It slapped me in the face, literally, that I became aware. And then it's a case of putting new behaviors in place to overtake those previous behaviors.
Yeah. Well, and take us a little bit behind whatever that looked like for you, kind of bottoming out, realizing that you needed to learn this new operating system and a new set of skills to be able to take on life and connect not just with other people, but with yourself again.
I think it's with self first of all. I think it can only come once you're connected to self and you understand yourself in more detail. Then you connect more authentically with others. So I perfected this art of manning up over the years because that's what I thought was expected of me. I had, as you say, the TV production job. It's a notoriously difficult industry if you are suffering. You can't raise your hand and say, I'm struggling a bit, because you'll be replaced immediately. And so I created this mask for years. And no one, as I say, ever told me to stop. No one ever said, that's all right, mate. You've done enough. Just ease off a little bit. So I was living the dream. I was chasing the success. I was doing all those things. I was manning up. But I became aware because I realized that I got my priorities all out of kilter. I'd lost focus on all the important things in life. I was focused on being the stoic, the protector, the provider, the hunter, all of those different things. But my relationships were suffering. My health was suffering. I'm an Ironman, I put my health and fitness as a high priority. But for me, that became almost an escape mechanism because it was an excuse, in effect, to not deal with my other stuff.
Oh, that's powerful.
Only when...
That's powerful because, the physical dimension, being a 2-time Ironman, and you're telling me right now that was actually a manifestation of everything else you were doing literally to man up, and it became more of an escape than the appropriate physical health release valve that it's supposed to be. Is that a fair thing to say, Rob? That's
my evaluation of it. Yeah. I mean, I adore the whole Ironman phenomenon. I'm intensely proud of what I achieved. I have I have the tattoo to prove, and I will always be proud of it. But when you've got 112 miles to ride, when you've got a marathon to run, when you've got 2.5 miles to swim, it becomes very easy to focus on that and almost obsess around that. And what I realize now on reflection, I didn't realize at the time, but my obsession around that multi-sport activity was a protection mechanism around not dealing with my shit, basically, not dealing with all the other stuff that was going on in my life. It's very easy to say, well, I'm not going to deal with that because I've got to do 7 hours on my bike. So beware the obsessives.
Well, absolutely. We've been enjoying this talk with Rob Mitchell-James. His talk is called Man Rebranded, Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And we're talking about that, but we're going to pivot over to UTalk Universe. We're going to go over in just a moment to the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with Rob Mitchell-James. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Rob a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. Are you ready, Rob?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. First question. Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I applied to speak. I saw there was a TED license given out in my neighbouring town. It was the second year of the license. I wrote and I went through the process, and luckily I was accepted.
Just like the rest of us. Awesome. Well, you walk out. Are you a memorizer, improviser, or a blender?
I was a memorizer because I act. I know that method of memorizing scripts and lines would work for me. So I memorized my script from beginning to end, and it was faultless. Yeah.
That's what I hear from every actor or everyone that is tertiary to that industry. There is a life that can be given to memorize lines when you truly internalize it, memorize it, and then are able to be present with all of that. So any words of encouragement to people? I know not everybody should always memorize. Some people need to do other things. But what would you say, digging a little deeper into that, Rob?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head again there. I think it's not just learning it; it's learning it beyond learning it. So you can recount this thing while you're driving your car. You can recount it while you're ironing your shirts. Because only then, when it's embedded as part of your DNA almost, that you can actually put the flavor and the color and the tone into it. Because if you're having to remember the next line, you will lose the impact of what that line is trying to say. But if you know that it's there. And it takes time. It does. You can't skimp on that. It takes time. But that time it pays back tenfold, 20-fold, because then you just know it's there. And that's when you can feel the essence of what you're trying to say.
So Talk Universe, some really important nuances right there. You have to internalize it or it's not really memorized, and it's not going to hold up or show up or be there when you need it unless it's internalized. Do something else, iron your shirts, run around the block, whatever you need to do, and test the memory before you walk out on stage. Now, Rob, you walk out on stage, the lights are there, you're in the industry. Now, my question is, did you still have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
Both. Yeah, absolutely had nerves. And despite being in the industry, those nerves don't go away. You can walk onto set, you can walk onto stage, and you still have nerves. But what I've learned over the years is techniques to use those nerves to your advantage and to not be fearful of them. I think you need nerves to perform well. If you don't have them, that's the time to worry, I think. So,
every performer tells me that. Every performer tells me that if you're not, I get nervous when I'm not nervous. And, TED guru Simon Sinek says, hey, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. It's just a reframing.
It's a reframe. It's the same physiological response. Nerves and excitement are the same as fear. You can just rechannel it. And if you're not feeling the nerves, then you don't care, in my opinion. So it's a good indicator of how much you care.
Rob, what's a tip, tool, or technique besides memorization that helped you?
Visualization. I was fortunate in the fact that I could go to the location in advance of us actually doing the talk. I stood on the stage. I took a picture on my iPhone. Other phones are available. And I had a picture of the auditorium, so I knew what it would look like when I was there presenting on the day. And I used that to visualize. I actually learned my talk to that picture. So when I was stood up on the day, I knew exactly what it would look like. Yeah, there were a few more heads on the seats, but I prepared for that. So it wasn't a surprise. The brain is very coachable. The brain can be convinced that it's done things before that it hasn't actually done. So I would recommend a visualization process, absolutely.
Well, Talk Universe, we're seeing Rob, the television producer, coming out right here. There are all kinds of skills that come with that domain that I would imagine helped you to be able to understand what was going on in the overall event that day, that helped you empathize with the organizer, the support team, helped probably add a ton of value to the other people. Take us behind, this is an unusual question for me, but it's an unusual skill set. So take me behind what it looks like to you and how you were able to maybe not, you're wearing your speaker hat, but you're also a television producer. So tell me some of the things that you saw that maybe not everybody would see without that skill set, Rob.
That's a great question. I see the amount of work that everybody behind the scenes puts in. It's very easy when you think, I'm turning up to do a TED talk, that it's a very self-focused process. But I think it's important because I have an understanding of production to have a respect for the amount of work that everybody else puts into that as well. And if you bring that healthy respect to the table, it just makes it a much more holistic, enjoyable experience. You see the other speakers who are going through the same preparation process. They've put their heart and soul into this as well. respect those. Respect the guy who's created the license and put this thing together. Respect all of those volunteers who have turned up on the day, to usher people into their seats. Respect the people who created the brochures and all the other stuff. It's a big machine. It's a phenomenal, successful machine, and you're just one very small part of a big machine. And that's the same in TV production. It's the same with acting. When you turn up on set, it's not all about you. Just because someone comes to brush a speck of dust off your suit doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. It's because they need to get rid of that speck of dust. Respect everybody in the process.
Absolutely. Well, we've been enjoying the Blitz Round with Rob Mitchell-James. His talk is called Man Rebranded, Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And my words, we need a new 21st century updated operating system. You can watch that talk by typing all of that into YouTube, or you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We will have a YouTube link to that. All you have to do is click on Rob's website, which we will also have on the show notes page. It's robmitchell-james.com. robmitchell-james.com. And in a moment, we will be back with Rob Mitchell-James for the final word of advice for you, Talk Universe. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with Rob Mitchell-James. It's time for the final word of advice. What is it, Rob?
I've got two little bits, if that's okay. One is relating to the talk, and one is relating to doing a TED Talk. So in terms of my first one, it's about male masculinity and mental health. And my word of advice there is the next time you're told to man up, and it will happen, I'd encourage you really strongly to pause and to think about your responses to that. Will you fall back into your old conditioned ways and do what you've always done, or will you really man up, stand up, and open up? That's my first one. My second one is around doing TED Talks. And my only counsel there is be brave enough to do it with full honesty. I think when you've written your first version, it's not deep enough. Write it again, go deeper. Because only when you break through that external shell, which is what the whole essence of modern masculinity is about, only then can you find that genuine authenticity and that reality and the depth and the honesty that I think is lacking and is so needed in the world at the moment. So take your first version, rip it up, go deeper. That's when it becomes interesting.
Rob Mitchell-James, thank you so much for carving out time to be on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you, sir. It's been brilliant, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Be The Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.